Dr. Amy Norman, the State Librarian, and I am delighted to welcome you. Thank you to the Newark Free Library for hosting our event today, as we thank Governor Carney, Representative Baumbeck, Senator Sokola, and all our library champions for establishing the Delaware Library Consortium in the Delaware Code. So first, I'd like to recognize the leaders in the library community to introduce them to you today. So, Council on Libraries members, can you please wave? We have I especially want to recognize Diana Brown, the Newcastle County Librarian, and Hillary Welliver, the Kent County Librarian, is here as well. And how about the County Library Board members? The Council, we have a couple of those here. Board of Trustees, any of those? No, none of those, okay. We also have, how about the Delaware School Libraries Council members? I think I saw a few of them here. That is formed by executive order. Delaware Library Association board members. I think I saw, Rachel West, who's the president of the Delaware Association. And the Friends of Delaware Libraries. We have. And how about library directors? Thank you. And any of our Delaware partners here? No, none of those. So we're Delaware partners, we have more than 150 agencies and nonprofits who are out there working with us in the libraries. The Delaware Library Consortium is a platform of library buildings, technologies, and partner collaboration. This milestone today is a culmination of decades of library development, and is thanks to the efforts of many leaders, including Secretary Bullock, who isn't here, but also many leaders who are here today. And we honor all of your efforts as well. Governor Carney, early on, was a leader for both educational and library technologies. We work with them through DCET, the Delaware Center for Educational Technology. We also worked with Lieutenant Governor Carney through ICAL, the Interagency Council on Adult Literacy, and he has signed thousands of certificates for children who complete the annual Summer Library Reading Program. Our opportunity now through the Carney administration is to capitalize on and maximize the power of this library consortium infrastructure on behalf of Delawareans to meet basic needs, to launch literacy, learning, and growth, and to ignite Delaware's innovation economy. Please join me in welcoming and thanking Governor John Carney.
Well, thank you very much, Annie, Dr. Norman. I appreciate those opening remarks very much. This is really, really very exciting to see everybody here in this room, to celebrate really the statewide library community here in our great state of Delaware. I'm really privileged today to be your governor, to act on your behalf, to sign these two pieces of legislation, which will put in place officially a collaboration that has been in the making and operating for years. Who would have thought, Mr. County Executive, almost 30 years ago when I was working in county government, that we would have a statewide collaboration like what has evolved here in the Delaware Library Consortium, which a bill formalizes that into law, sponsored by Representative Baumbeck. Who would have thought that 30 years ago? We had libraries that were in little silos up and down Newcastle County, very little in the way of an organized library system in the lower part of our state. But a lot of work has been done over those 25 to 30 years. And it's been a lot of hard work to get everybody in the same page, working with a statewide library catalog and working on the statewide technology system that makes that catalog operative in all of the libraries and brings all of you people who have done so much incredible work for the individual libraries and communities across our state together as one statewide system. And in doing so, you have made access to library services better for everybody, no matter what corner of our state that they live in. You've expanded the access to technology that Delaware citizens have in their libraries. You've transformed, literally, the libraries in communities across our state into technology and information centers that are way different than the library that I went to as a kid out on Concord Pike as a little toddler for story time in the weekends with my mom and dad. One of those pioneers, we're represented today by two outstanding leaders in the Newark community. One's former State Senator Steve Amick, who's sitting right up here, right up here. Who's put incredible amount of effort into supporting our libraries, to developing this Newark library and libraries in this community, working with a stalwart who we also recognize and memorialize today, and former Representative Ada Lee Souls, with her daughter Catherine and her two grandchildren who are here to celebrate with us as well. So with those, I couldn't be more excited. I really couldn't, and I'm remiss in not recognizing a former Secretary of State who was instrumental in a lot of this work, Ed Friel, who works here at the University of Delaware. He's semi-retired. And our current Secretary of Finance and former Deputy Secretary of State, Rick Geisenberg, who again, I couldn't be happier to be your governor today, to celebrate how we work together here in our state. I'm pleased to be able to sign these pieces of legislation, both of which are sponsored in the House by the state representative who follows in the footsteps of Ada Lee Souls, representing this area, Representative Paul Baumach. And I'm remiss in not recognizing State Senator, what is your name? Remember when we Bethany Hall, no, Stephanie Hansen. We have a little joke going where she introduced me once as Jack Markell, and so I figure it was fair enough, to introduce her as Bethany Hall Long. But she follows in the footsteps of Senator Amick. They represented the same district, and it's great to have you here with us today, Representative Baumach.
Thank you. That's interesting. I'm going to turn it off. That's better. With its library tradition dating back more than 150 years, Newark is the natural, logical location for the signing of these two library-related laws. In my initial election in 2012, I quickly learned that libraries matter to Newark residents. I was all prepared to talk about jobs, and talk about education, and talk about public safety. But I kept knocking on doors and I said, what matters to you? And they said, well, what's your position on libraries? And I'm not kidding. And it happened door after door. And I realized it was time to really learn a lot. We've got, actually, someone 2 doors up from me has worked at the Newark Library and now works at the University of Delaware Library, and that is not at all uncommon with our community. It's therefore not surprising that Newark has a history of legislators who champion our state's libraries. In early 2013, I was invited to an annual librarian meeting where the mood was somber. For their two stalwart legislators, Newark area Senators Lyanne Sorensen and Representative Terry Scully, had both just retired. But Senator Ernie Lopez and I had good news to share, that librarians still had strong support in the new legislature. HB 94, the consortium bill, in fact, has 5 prime sponsors, including 1 from each of the 4 caucuses, and 6 additional co-sponsors. And this is a reflection of the broad recognition in the General Assembly of the absolutely critical role played by Delaware's libraries. And HB 34, which amends the Ada Lee Souls Scholarship, was prime sponsored by Newark area Senator Dave Sokola and me, and co-sponsored by 5 senators and representatives. I was very pleased to be the House Prime, as Ada Lee Souls was my state representative when our family moved back to Newark in 1990. And I was especially pleased with HB 34's passage, as in 2016 I had tried to get the identical bill passed. HB 348, however, 348 never made it to the Senate floor on June 30th of last year, and it died on the vine. Persistence pays off. As 34 was passed the Senate, and I was ready to cheer. Then I think Andy Norman came over, or Doug Dennison came over and said, "That was really nice, Paul. Okay, we have a second bill to work on. Here's line 4. Let's get to work, shall we?" So given this background, I'm very pleased to be here today to celebrate these 2 bills with all of you. These bills which will improve our state's libraries for years to come. I'm going to start off, Senator Amick, would you have some words you'd like to share?
I'm going to reread.
Do you want this, or you want to? Yeah, let's see if that works.
Thank you. Steve Amick, it's nice to see you all. As you see, I have some difficulty these days with maneuverability and...
Let me hold this one.
Good.
You can hold from here if you want.
As I say, I have some difficulties with viability, but with movement and speech and so forth, so I hope you'll bear with me. And if I have a problem, bear with me, I'll do it again. Right. So. Thank you, Governor Carney, for inviting me today. I was honored to be here. Also, I'd like to recognize and thank the sponsors of these bills for the time and effort put into them. The Experience for Mentally Souls Incentive Program, so obvious in retrospect, has been a long time in coming, and time has come. Those of us who represent souls remember her well for passion for libraries. The Lewis Library System owes much to the vitality and efforts of Italy Souls, the wonderful librarian and activists in the state.
Catherine, do you have some comments to share?
I'm a little more choked up than I thought I'd be right now. So thank you very much, Senator Amick. I want to thank all of you who serve our communities and serve our libraries. Such an important part of what makes Delaware special, and especially what makes Newark special. And I want to thank our current elected officials for continuing the Newark tradition that my mother and Senator Amick supported of being a champion for libraries. Thank you, Governor, for including my family in this. My children didn't really get a chance to know my mom, so it means a lot for me that they can witness something like this. My mom was passionate about libraries and about education and serving her community. So a recognition like this scholarship, which educates librarians and archivists so that they can serve the community, is a really very special tribute. But if you know my mom, you know she really wasn't about tributes. In fact, her famous line is saying that honors like these are just whipped cream on top of a very fulfilling career. But who doesn't like a little whipped cream?
Senator Hansen?
Thank you. I will be brief. I've been a supporter of the library system for such a long time, and I am so very glad to be here. Back when I was the president of the Bear Glasgow Council, I remember the huge campaign that we had to get the Bear Library up and going, and which was successful and is really the heart of the community. And while on county council, I was a part of just expanding this library, not actually bringing this. That is something I believe that belongs to State Senator Steve Amick, and I was very pleased and happy to be able to work with him throughout the years that I was in Bear Glasgow as well. The libraries are the great equalizer. I mean, it is so important to have a good, thriving library that is on top of modern technology, because it's through access to information and access to job applications and access to all sorts of documents that people that otherwise can't afford to have a computer in their home, they finally have a place to be able to come and access that information. Access to jobs, access to information. This is incredible. This is why it's so important to support the library system, and why I do and why I will continue to as well. And I look forward to many years of working on behalf of the library system and with others in government. Thank you.
Ed Friel, would you like to speak? I lost you. You good? Our next speaker.
Libraries. I love Annie. The program going.
One of the very critical pieces of libraries in Delaware are the counties, and therefore we're very pleased to have our Newcastle County Executive, Matt Myers, be our next speaker.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you to Marcus Henry, our head of community services, who oversees our entire library system, along with Diana Brown, who's mentioned before. Fantastic assets, and Marcus always says good afternoon when I say good afternoon. Trained, I also want to apologize for the patrons in the library. This is not the sound level that you can expect at Newcastle County Library. I like, when I think about libraries, I like to pause for a minute and think about our county and our state without libraries. What would that mean? I spent about an hour and a half today working at the library right here in Newark. And you know, what would it be if you couldn't get all these books? You wouldn't have anywhere to go. What would it mean to people that don't have a whole lot of money to go and buy books? At a time when reading is more important than ever, when the threats to reading are more important than ever. There are all these things and gadgets we're doing instead of reading. When there's not a community meeting place that people can just go to, feel comfortable that their community association, neighborhood association, nonprofit can have a place to go to, a place for kids to come to. You know, it's interesting, I was looking at numbers while I was working here. They have some numbers on the wall over there of number of people that walk through these doors in this library every day. And on rainy days, the numbers just about double. Rainy days, the numbers just, which means we got a lot of people this past week, right? On rainy days, the numbers double. It's also amazing that you can take out a book, rather, or a piece of music at any library in the state and return it to any library in the state. When you sit back and think, it often within 48 hours is back on the shelves. It's back on the shelves. It's depositing. The tremendous investment in resources and commitment that goes into that. And I recognize that a lot of those people behind that commitment are volunteers. They're giving their time because they believe in the libraries and believe in the library system. And a lot of those people are in this room. A lot of those people leading the effort are in this room. So I want to say thank you. I also want to note that I believe both pieces of legislation were passed unanimously through the House and Senate, and in this day and age, that's a little bit of a feat. Also, one thing, somebody asked me as I was walking over here, what did you learn this afternoon, spending an hour and a half, you know, checking in books and things like that? Well, in the first 2.5 minutes, 2 fines came in, totaling $47.60. So I know the Secretary of Finance is there. If we multiply across every desk of every library across the state, I think in 3 minutes, the state and county might be able to bridge some deficits. So in closing, I just want, if Martha Birchnell is around, I want to thank Martha, who runs the Newark Library. The governor and the state for the tremendous partnership that makes what I think is one of the finest library systems in the country. Without further ado, I want to pass the torch to Judy Taggart, who's a very loyal leader on our County Library Advisory Board and also a member of the State Council on Libraries.
On behalf of the State Council on Libraries, I appreciate this opportunity to speak. And I also want to recognize a very important person here, the president of the Newark Friends, Su Chen Liang. There are not many young men and women who are able to balance school-age children, a full-time job, and so effectively chair the Friends. Most of us are like myself, retired and have the time. So I really thank you for serving the Newark Library. It's wonderful. And I also want to let you know that before I start talk my little more formal notes, that I want to acknowledge Representative Bombeck, who is a member of the Newark Friends and has been. So. And now I must thank the governor and Representative Bombeck for the limited budget reduction in the library allocation.
It was painful.
I can say that as not being part of the staff, but it allocates for benefits libraries throughout the state, and it could have been a lot worse. So we are really very much appreciative. And even though we're here for state legislation signing, I must thank County Executive Matt Meyer and members of the Newcastle County members for their tremendous and ongoing continued support of libraries in Newcastle County, because it really is very phenomenal and has been terrific. So thank you for that. The state bills formally establishes the Library Consortium and extends benefits to member libraries. It emphasizes the importance of collaboration, which has been emphasized throughout the talks of the power of collaboration. Our libraries are strengthened by sharing resources throughout the state, and this is good government and what taxpayers respect. I urge you, our elected officials, to continue your support to sustain library facilities and the shared network and cataloging. This enriches lifelong learning and education. I also encourage you and your staff to use the library services in your work to help strengthen our communities. And under Annie Norman's leadership, the Council on Libraries are always seeking ways to better serve our citizens and to do so efficiently. So suggestions are always welcome. Thank you.
So I think it's time to sign the bills, but before I do, I want to thank Representative Bomback and his colleagues in the House. I want to thank Senator Hansen and her colleagues in the Senate for passing these pieces of legislation. I want to thank the county executive and all the people who work for him with in Newcastle County Libraries for their tremendous work. We just heard from those volunteers who support our library. And one of the things I hope that everybody, I know that everybody here kind of understands, and Representative Bomback hit the nail on the head when he talked about campaigning door to door. Libraries matter in Delaware. People care about it. And in very large part, we as elected officials respond to our constituents in that fashion. So I want to thank all the people in the room who've made our library system. Emphasis on the word system, because again, 25, 30 years ago, it was not a system. And it's only through a lot of hard work that we do have a system. Before I came over here today, Annie said to me, we've done all the hard work. It took us about 8 years to get this coordination together, Mr. Governor. Now it's time to take advantage of all that hard work. And I'm committed to all of you to work with our other elected officials to do just that.
Great.
And I also want to thank both Senator Amick and Catherine Souls Pomeroy for coming today, because you've been such champions for libraries here in this Newark area and in our state for such a long time. We have two bills to sign. I'm going to sign House Bill number 94 first, which is the bill, again, both of these are sponsored by Representative Bomback. This is the bill that takes essentially a bit of an informal collaboration and formalizes it in the state code. So importantly, to bring our libraries together as a system, to enable libraries to participate in technology purchases and lots of different things to improve the services that they provide. Signing legislation, I found, is trickier than you would think. You've got to do it with more than one pen, and you've got to make sure it all comes out in the end, that you're not left with more to do. I always do this. I always have one last pen that has to do a lot. Stuart?
Yes, it's 7/19/17.
I never know what they do.
2/23.
2/23. And that's PM, right? Very good. Okay, you just hold that up, and if you could just close ranks behind me a little bit. I will hand that over my shoulder to Representative Bomback. And now, let's do, Catherine, why don't you come up closer here? This is the scholarship program, which we are expanding, which memorializes Representative Annalise Souls, who wasn't big on these things, as we heard, but she liked a little bit of whipped cream, and we're going to gotta get more out of that pen next time.
7/19/17. Don't think it. It is 2/24.
Very good.